All right, class in session, doing another chapter of Atomic Attraction. We're on chapter 45, and this is going to be a good one. This is, some of them might be a little more valuable or just a little more appropriate for all. And this one is, never use logic to fight emotion. And that's a big thing. That's where we have blind spots. Men think with logic and emotion, and women are reason and logic. I'm sorry, and women think with emotion. So, if we try to use our way of thinking with women, it doesn't work, and we're kind of like dumbfounded. We're like, what the hell? And then women are like, why the hell is he trying to use logic and reason to, convince me? I'm just not going to do it. So we both have blind spots. Men and women are different, and that's probably one of the biggest things. If you have a guy buddy, you guys think alike. You guys can, that's why it's important to have guy buddies, because you can tell him a problem, and he thinks like you do, and he can logic and reason with you. But if you just have girl buddies, and you tell her about a relationship problem, she's going to tell you something that makes you feel better. Oh, don't worry, everything will work out, everything will come together, there's someone for everyone. Because they don't want you to feel bad. A woman's never going to go, well, she probably thought you were a loser, and you should just move on. They're going to make, because women don't want to make you feel bad. So that's why they're the worst people to ask for advice on relationships, and that's a testament to who women are. It's like, aw, y'all don't want to make us feel bad. That's nice of y'all. But your buddy will be like, okay, bro, what'd you wear? Okay, that sucks. What cologne did you wear? Oh, that's terrible. So anyway. But I want to start with Law 44 from the 48 Laws of Power. And if you haven't read 48 Laws of Power, that is the best book that you will use in relationships, whether it's man or woman, meaning, man if you're having business relationships, friendships, if you're a guy, and women if you're a heterosexual guy and you're dealing with women, you will use the 48 Laws of Power, because one of them applies every day. You'll notice. I always notice. If someone will tell me a problem, I'm like, oh, that's part of the 48 Laws of Power. I can see what you did there. So the best book, the most useful book you'll ever read. And then you got to read it over and over and over, because, after I read it once or two times, I was like, this is good. But you'd forget, oh, that's a law of power. I can't remember which one that is. Now, sometimes almost always get the laws right. I'll always get the laws right, but sometimes I won't know what number it is, but I'll know what law it is, and I've gotten better at, oh, that's law 20, law 15, crush your enemy, law 4, always say less than necessary. See, I can rattle them off, law 35, master the art of timing. I mean, I just, it's just, almost can name them all, but, I'll digress there. But anyway, let's go over to law 44, and it's the mirror effect, okay? Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. The mirror reflects reality, but it is also the perfect tool for deception. When you mirror your enemies by doing exactly as they do, they cannot figure out your strategy, making them overreact. By holding a mirror to their actions, you seduce them with the illusion you share their values. Correct. By holding up a mirror to their actions, you teach them a lesson. Few can resist the power of the mirror effect. And so, one of the best ways we can think of the mirror effect was, if anyone was around, or anyone knows Shira 7, the sprinkle, 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 that stupid lady, acting like she all rich and ain't got a job, but she's on the internet with a job, So anyway, I mean, if you doing content and you selling courses or whatever she was doing, you working. You ain't rich enough to just sit back as a trophy wife. You working on the internet. It's take my course while you working on the internet. And that's okay. I'm just saying, don't act like you ain't. She would. That's the fraud. But anyway, but what was very popular then was the drizzle drizzle. Guys were coming on. I guess it was TikTok, and I don't have TikTok, but I see the TikToks on YouTube. So, it's not like I'm oblivious to what TikTok is. I see them on YouTube, but I have an account, but I don't watch it at all, because I know I'd be on there 24/7 because it's so addictive. But anyway, and it's kind of feminine. But anyway, but guys are doing drizzle drizzle, And it was a good, a teaching lesson of the sprinkle ladies. I'm gonna get my bag. I'm gonna finesse, girl. You better do my nails. I need $20,000 dinners, and I need this and I need that, girl. And guys were like, I know my value. I won't accept any less than this. It was a parody, right? And at first, girls couldn't figure it out, right? And that goes back to they cannot figure out your strategy. Girls are like, yeah, I agree with this, but why are they doing that? They were like, what the hell does this mean, right? And then they were like, they would come out, and what were the girls saying? You gay, you gay. Look at all these gay guys trying to get girls stuff. They had nothing. They were so mad. All they could say was the guys were gay. I mean, and that's just a dumb argument, because the guys, by logic and reason, were making their stupid sprinkle sound dumb, and it did when you flip it to a guy, right? He sounds like a moron. And so, you put a mirror to their psyches, and women are like, in their head, they're kind of thinking like, yeah, why should I buy them that? Yeah, why do I need to get them, a new car or whatever, new boombox or new fishing supplies to go on a date? Like, really, dog? But that's what they want, and that kind of puts the, you're putting a mirror to their actions, and they don't like it, and that's why they were overreacting with, oh, you gay, you sweet, you kind of sweet there, boy, and that's all they could come up with. So by mirroring exactly what the women did, asking for stuff, not wanting to go on dates unless you buy me stuff, and women were getting so mad, like, well, that's what you guys do. So why should you guys? And there's no logical or rational, reasonable, or rational reason, I guess I could say, that they would do that. And women can't come up with a reason. They just know that they want shit. So with the mirror effect, they can't argue. They're like, that's exactly what we do, huh? So that's why their mirror effect is good. And then, if we've all done the mirror effect as kids, you can get someone mad by like, you just start mirroring what they do. Hi. And then you go, hi. Hey, quit saying what I say. Hey, quit saying what I say. And then you're like, stop it. And dude, I mean, I remember, if you were the one on the receiving end and someone's doing that to you, you're like, gee, you just want them to shut the hell up. And they're like, shut the hell up. And they're like, shut the hell up. Oh man, and it does make you overreact. By the end of those, they usually start into a fist fight. Because you just can't say anything, because they'll just keep repeating what you're doing, So anyway, let's get into chapter 45. Never use logic to fight emotion. And I notice this most with women and sexuality. And again, we have a blind spot because men will oftentimes, and I say this, and I've learned this from making the same mistakes, is you might invite a woman out to, or whatever, for a hookup or whatever, and she's like, oh, what do you want me to get killed by a serial killer? And you're like, I'm not a serial killer, and start posting pictures of your apartment, and here's my criminal history. I've never been arrested, and I have no knives. And your logic and reasoning this woman. It's, you can come over. I'm not a serial killer. That's not what she's saying. She's saying, I don't have the feelings to come over and bang you. So I'm making up this little bullshit argument. I'm making up a reason, right? And but the guy sitting there trying to logic and ration, she doesn't have enough emotion, quote unquote emotion, enough sexual feeling to come over and bang you right away. So you can't logic and reason her over to your apartment at that point. Women will hook up with guys that they really are lusting after. Their emotions are really high into, and sexuality, sexual feelings is emotion, right? Their sexual attraction is so high, we just got to go, And I'm not going to say every woman, but a lot of women, and it's a beautiful thing, and men, they've gone to nightclubs or bars, I have, and you've had a great time. Maybe you were dancing with a girl or whatever, and you just be kissing on the dance floor or kissing and you're like, what? There's no logic and reason behind it. You're just having a great time. And so you can't logic and reason into that moment. You can't logic and reason into you're in the rain and you're pushing a girl against the wall and you're just getting down and kissing. There's no logic and reason to that. It's just an emotion. It's just both of y'all fueled by lust and emotion going after it. And that's what human mating is about, So, I recently had a girl I used to date. We used to hook up, and we actually, the first time we met each other, I was traveling to Austin, and met up with her. We'll talk to her the night before on a dating app, and then it was her birthday the next day, and I said, well, come to my hotel room next morning. And she came on her lunch break, and I left the car to the room right halfway into the door. She took it, got in, and we had a great time. And I'll still listen to that's, and I had no idea, like never met her, just off the app, and right straight to my hotel room, bang, had a great time. And it's not a flex, it's I'll hear her say she doesn't like some guys, and she's like, no, he needs to take me out. I don't just do first. I don't do hookups like that. And I'm sitting there going, we hooked up. But she's mad about the guy wanting to hook up because she doesn't like him like that. And and a lot of times the guys try to read this. Just recently, the guys try to reason with her. And just recently, there was a guy here in Houston. She's in Austin. And he was like, hey, why don't you come down to Houston and, let's get together. And she's like, can we do halfway? And I was telling her, you just don't like him enough to come all the way here. She's like, that's not it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. And the guy's trying to, and then she's trying to logic and ration him on, I want to test drive a car. I don't just want to buy the car. Speaking of sex, right? And I don't just want to buy the car without a test drive. And then the guy's like, well, sometimes you don't need a test drive if the car is good looking enough and you like it. And like he's trying to logic and use logic and reason to get this girl to come to Houston, and bang him. And what he doesn't realize is her emotions just ain't there. And you're not going to be able to use any kind of logic. And, I offer these qualities and I have a D this big. And for whatever reason, she did the math. And you ain't the one right now, So anyway, those are some, but and then off a dating app, a lot of times if you do try to hook up with a girl, I know for 100%, if you get into a point of, she'll tell you, well, why don't we just get some drinks first? And you're like, well, cause I'm into hooking up, whatever. And she's like, well, girls don't just do hook. And then you start arguing about, well, girls actually do hookups, and the stats are this, and whatever. And you start trying to offer statistics and the amount of people hooking up on dating apps, and dude, it doesn't matter what you're gonna say. You ain't gonna talk. And I tell women, if we get into a subject like that, and I'll say the fact that we're talking about sex is reason enough to say this ain't gonna work. The fact that I'm trying to tell you how this works, it lets me know it ain't gonna work, and they'll usually agree with me. I'm like, we shouldn't be talking about it. You just do it, Or like they'll say, why should I come all the way to your city? Well, because I'm worth it, and because if a guy goes all the way to you, you'll find disrespect in that, and it's better if a girl comes to a guy because that shows she really. If you're talking about it, you're already behind. It's not gonna work. So again, I'm reiterating why you just can't. The moment you get into logic and reason, a girl is shutting down. She's shutting down. You're not going to get there. Okay, logic will never change emotion or reflection. Yeah, that's right. Or no, perception, sorry. Logic will never change emotion or perception, and that is so true. Edward de Bono. Women are predisposed to worry and anxiety. If you allow women's emotions to take over during the course of a relationship, her feelings of worry and anxiety will overwhelm her and consume you in the process. Correct. I've had women like tell me their problems, and I used to try to think of all these solutions, and here, get a whiteboard, and on this side you put the reasons this, and on this side, like my dad would do, and you put the cons, and then on this side you put the pros. And then, and they're like, yeah, that sounds great. And then like 2 months later, how'd that whiteboard thing go? Did you do the pros and the cons? They're like, no, and he's still doing it. And I just, and they'll start getting into their emotions about how they don't like it. I'm so mad about it. They're not, and I used to get mad that, well, I told you to use the whiteboard. And you can't, like, now I live so much more calm because I'm like, that's not my problem. She'll fix her own problems. They're not going to take your advice anyway. They're just here. All you do is you listen to them, with indifference, and then you let them know. But you let them know you care about them. And hey, damn, that pissed me off. He did that at my job. Damn, that's terrible. I know exactly how you feel. That's what you say. So you validated their emotions. And you say, well, I hope that works out, man. That's it. They're like, yeah, I think so. I think it might. and they're going to come back and tell you 3 weeks later about the same problem. You're like, whoa, man, new guy's doing that? Oh, I can tell. Man, I definitely could see how that'd make me pissed off. Man, I hope that works out. It's so good. Anyway, all right. If the woman becomes moody or distant, there is a good chance she has allowed herself to become a victim of her own emotions. If you try to talk a woman out of her emotions using logic and reason, you will have more success talking to a brick wall. Absolutely. Reason and logic can never defeat emotion, because emotion is the strongest thing. That's why these true crime shows love emotion. You got the Lindsay Clancy case going on. She killed her 3 kids. It's horrible. And that's why women love true crime stuff. But you hear these shows that, women are probably the biggest consumers of true crime. Lindsay Clancy killed her 3 kids. It was brutal, awful, horrifying, terrible. They're going all over these emotional things. And then the night it happened, it was a brutal, awful, terrible, all these emotional words. And then she came in and he was crying, yelling. All about emotions. That's what true crime is, emotions. That's why true crime is such a popular genre. I like true crime, but I also realize what they try and do to me. You try to get me all emotional, dude. All right. It's neither logical nor reason. Yes, reasonable. Emotions are neither logical or reasonable. The more you attempt to reason with a woman, the more she will resist. If a woman is acting distant towards you, it will be impossible to have her feel warmth. Yes, it will be impossible to have her feel warmth and affection using logic and reason. Right. How many times has the guy been, just tell me, babe. Just tell me, babe. Babe, what's the problem, babe? Nothing. I'm fine. Nothing. I'm fine. But we've done this as kids. That's probably because we were like that. We kind of probably act more feminine as kids, But yeah, or you get mad about something. Well, this happens to men too. The strongest men will do. And you just get mad about something. Your buddy's trying to get you to see it their way, and the more you get mad about it, you try to, you make sure his logic and reason doesn't work. And you're like, dude, I'm not gonna do it, man. I'm not gonna do it that way, man. And you're just in your, his solution is probably pretty good, but you're telling him, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna do it. No, I'm not. Because you're in your feelings, right? A woman doesn't care if she is right or wrong. Correct. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Correct. She only cares about how she cares in the present. You will not be able to talk her into a state of happiness or ever, in this, I'm making this on my own, or a state of sexual feelings. Correct. And bliss. It's a good idea because Saturday night's a good night for hookups. The stats say that 80% of people on dating apps, that's sometimes why red pill gets a bad rap, because there's so many guys that do like red pill because it is logic and reason, right? And then they'll use this, and guilty as charged back when I first started learning it, you'll start using logic and reason to try to explain to women 20% of guys are in the friend zone, 30% of guys are not in the friend zone, 70% of marriages are initiated by women. Obviously, women are, and when you kind of, I'm still red pill 100%, but a lot of guys get caught up in the logic and reason and try to logic and reason their way into these arguments. The 70% of women initiate divorce, that's whatever. But guys will try to tell women, you guys, 70% of women, and women will try to sit there and go, well, I didn't initiate my divorce. It's like, he's like, it's not about, and women always making it about, it's not about you, bitch. I just said 70%. Well, I know I didn't, and my friend Lisa didn't, and so what are you trying to say? Is that just the girls you hang around initiate divorce? Yeah, dude, don't even. You'll be. Yeah, I've been there, done that. I mean, like I said, I'm 50 years old, made my mistakes. I've had those dumb arguments. Trying to. I didn't do it, and Lisa didn't do it. Well, that's 30%. Like, you're just getting more mad. Anyway, a woman doesn't care if she's right or wrong. She only cares about how she cares. She only cares about how she cares in the present. Yes. You will not be able to talk her into a state of happiness and bliss. Make it a point to try. Don't make it a point to try to solve her problems 100%. If you can get this in your head right now, do not make it a point to solve a woman's problems. Don't take women too seriously. They don't take themselves too seriously. So if you're worrying about her too seriously, and I've learned this myself the hard way, and that's because, good women that I've really loved, I'm like, damn, man, I wish they'd take my advice, God. And I'm taking it seriously, but they're not, and I'm ruining the party. So now if you just kind of like, okay, whatever. That's how kind of women are sometimes. Whatever. I still got problems. Whatever. So anyway, don't take women too seriously. All right, just have fun. That's what they're there for. All right. So case study 22, the silence is deadening. So you got Dilly and Abby, and Dylan and Abby are like a couple. They've been together for a while, and Abby was silent, and Dylan was concerned why she was silent, and he was confused. And he's like, hey, babe, tell me what's wrong, babe. Tell me what's wrong, babe. She's like, nothing, jeez. And he's like, this is not how you're supposed to do it. Give me your hand, baby. And loving people talk about their problems. Just tell me your problems. 30% of psychologists say you should talk. And she's like, dude, you're a loser. Like, stop with the freaking, statistics. I don't care. She's like, you are annoying me. She just wanted to sit there and be upset. But this Dylan guy wanted to, talk to me, babe. Talk. And then you end up looking weak. And she ends up looking strong because she's in the indifference phase. Because indifference always is kind of a stronger emotion. That I don't give a damn, and she got pissed off and broke up with him, and that's kind of the, so anyway, okay, the moment a woman, we're almost done here, the moment a woman gets upset or walks away or pulls away, a flurry of thoughts rush through the man's head. A man keeps thinking about how he can fix the situation and make a woman happy. The short answer is you can't. Absolutely. You can't fix her, and you can't make her happy. Tons of guys have probably tried, guys, before you, and her daddy tried, and no one could fix her, okay? Her mamas ain't happy either, and her daddy tried to fix her mama too. You just can't. Women are going to be upset. You should expect a woman's mood to fluctuate. 100%. It fluctuates from hour to hour. From every 15 minutes, they fluctuate emotions. If they're sad 1 minute, they'll be happy the next. You should expect a woman to be happy 1 minute and sad the next. And you don't have to worry about it. It ain't your problem. You should expect a woman to pull away from you. Therefore a woman to deal with this, and there are two ways to deal with this, and this is the important thing. And I think the first way is the most important, guys. There are two ways to deal with women pulling away from you and their emotions getting the best of them and getting the best of you. And this is how you don't let them get the best of you. And that is the first is to remain indifferent to a woman's emotions. Yes, exactly. Remain indifferent to a woman's emotions. And you can still be authentic and say, hey, man, hope you solved that problem. Dude, I could, like I said earlier, I can, that would piss me off too, babe. Damn. Hope that works out, man. Let me know. And now you go off doing your own damn thing. You are indifferent to that damn situation. You don't care if she solves it. You don't care if it blows up in her face. Because either way, she ain't going to do what you say. Be indifferent. Anyway, but you can, if she wants your advice, offer it, to still be indifferent if she takes it or not. Yeah, I would like your advice, Daddy. Can you tell me your advice on? Yeah, no, make a whiteboard, do the pros and cons, and talk to Brad and then talk to Jim and see which one has the better idea, and then put their ideas up on your whiteboard, and then get the group to go ahead and vote on their. I'm making this up, right? Get the group to vote on their ideas, right? And get a little collaboration from your boss. That's a very good idea. I think I'll do that. And hey, did you do the whiteboard thing and get Brad? No, I didn't. I got mad at Jill though. Jill was rude to me. And so you can still offer a great solution, but be indifferent to, oh, okay, well, hey, just remember what we talked about, that whiteboard, do it if you want. But if and now you don't care if she uses it or not. You don't care if that whole whiteboard problem solved. You got the best way, and you definitely would be the fixer on that, but she ain't gonna listen, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't be indifferent. And then the second way is to mirror her emotions and diffuse her. That's why I went with the mirror effect in the beginning, and we gave that long, but it's important. And diffuse her negative energy. You can kind of joke with her, be like, what's wrong? You want, you sad about Jill? Oh, me too. I'm sad about, and be like, shut up, You're like, well, that's what you've been doing all night, with your little sad face, sad face, Or I had the best girl I've ever met. She was telling me one time about her son, and she's like, I'm so mad. He needs to take Mondays and Tuesdays off, or no, he had Mondays and Tuesdays off, and she's like, I want him to take Thursdays and Fridays, or Thursdays and Fridays off. Those are the best days to take off. And I'm like, well, does he like Mondays and Tuesdays? Yes. Oh. Well, then he needs to change them because you said so. And she started laughing about it because she was all mad about him not having Thursdays and Fridays. Like, well, queen bitch came in and told him, and she kind of realized, like, about mirroring her emotions, I'm like, she's like, oh, yeah, that's kind of dumb. I guess he likes those days off, And she was laughing about it, And if you mirror their emotions, you can tease them, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you will never logic and reason women. You just gotta, you gotta understand. But this is why dating is about you, and this is why strong men succeed, and people with, I guess, lack of a better word, non-insecure or secure. I would say secure men, succeed in relationships and succeed with women because women can be, off-centering. They can kind of, if you allow them to off-center you. If you're already insecure, if you're already anxious, then, when she has a problem with her emotions, you're trying to change her, but she won't change. And now you want to make her happy because you don't like dealing with, the anxiety of having an unhappy woman. And say, well, just tell me, just do my solution. But a secure man's going to be like, hey, babe, you want to tell me? Go ahead. Oh, I understand. But you're secure enough to go, hey, it ain't my problem. Was it that ain't my circus and those ain't my monkeys, So I'm good, I own none of that problem, but an insecure man will be scared that if he doesn't make his girl happy, she'll leave him. She's unhappy. She's gonna start looking. She's hypergamous. She's gonna, that's the red pills. She's hypergamous, and she's gonna find someone better. Then your insecurities come in, and that's why insecure men don't do well with women. Women aren't gonna like that because you're gonna be decentered. You're gonna be all up in your feelings. Your panties are going to be in a bunch. Like, just tell me. I want to help you. I'm here to help. That's what men do is help. But the cool hand Luke guy, the, Marlboro man guy, like, you want to tell me or not? Okay, that's cool. And you go off and do your business. You go off and, do your, continue your purpose, with your fulfilled, active, abundant life. All right, we'll see you on the next one.